Okay, so this is Dennis Nayer, the Director of Research, Development, and Training for the New York State Association of Chiefs of Police. And right now, I have the privilege of being here with Rebecca Weiner. She is the Assistant Commissioner of Intelligence Analysis for the NYPD. She just completed a presentation for us at this conference, the July 2017 Chiefs Conference. And then we have just a couple of questions for her that the listeners can gain a little bit of information for on counterterrorism and measures to keep their community safe. So, Rebecca, thank you for joining us.
Thanks, Dennis, so much.
So my first question is, can you briefly describe how an agency such as the NYPD undertakes the massive challenge of preparing for a potential terror attack?
Yeah, so brief and preparing for a terrorist attack is obviously hard to combine in one. But we spend a lot of time looking at terrorist incidents internationally, domestically, wherever they're taking place, picking them apart, studying them, taking away what would this incident look like if it were to happen in New York. So we spend a lot of focus and energy really thinking about the New York question when an incident is happening elsewhere. We coordinate extensively internally. NYPD is obviously a massive entity, so we tend to bring all parties to the table, whether it's officers on patrol, some of our specialized counterterrorism units, our strategic response group, our critical response command, and the Intel Bureau, which I represent, which does the investigative work. We do extensive red teaming based on incidents that are happening internationally, trends that we're seeing. So it's really kind of a full court press, looking outside, looking internally, making sure we know who would do what, when, where. Is any agency ever perfectly prepared? No, but I think that the recent incident in Chelsea, which is actually almost a year ago now, last September, was a good illustration of when something actually takes place, how multiple agencies can respond, work together quite seamlessly, everybody doing their part. And that response, I think, gave us a lot of positive after action and lessons learned.
For the listeners who may not be fully aware, can you just give them a brief synopsis of what happened at Chelsea?
Sure. So an individual named Ahmed Khan Rahimi detonated successfully a pressure cooker bomb on 23rd Street in Chelsea and left a secondary device, which thankfully did not detonate, on 27th Street, and was apprehended about 50 hours later in the streets of New Jersey. He had also successfully detonated some pipe bombs in New Jersey at a Marine race. So this was an example of an incident that took place over multiple hours across multiple states involving many, many agencies. The investigation and successful apprehension of the perpetrator involved many parties and was a good example of how coordination actually can take place on the ground very well.
So in addition, it seems not only the analysis and understanding how an event may take place, but it's also preparing in advance to partnerships and collaboratively working together to thwart them.
That's right. And knowing exactly who needs to do what when, so that if, God forbid, you don't succeed at prevention, the mitigation and apprehension can take place in the best manner possible.
Excellent. So now my next question is, how important is threat assessment and following up on reports of suspicious activities by all law enforcement agencies? How important is that?
That's extraordinarily important. So if you look back at incidents that have taken place overseas here, what you see is that there often are warning signs, and sometimes it gets to the point of actual suspicious incident reporting, sometimes not. But that is really kind of the fundamental responsibility of law enforcement agencies, to make sure that the public is taken seriously, that partner agencies are taken seriously, whoever the reporter is, that there is follow-up. And we've got a leads unit internal to the Intelligence Bureau whose job it is to follow up on all of the calls that are called into the 1-800-NYC-SAFE hotline in coordination with FBI's Joint Terrorism Task Force. So they review hundreds and hundreds of leads. Every lead is followed up upon, and whether it is something that appears completely benign or something that appears more nefarious, you never know what you're going to uncover. You may uncover criminal activity that is entirely separate from what you think you have when you initially get the suspicious report. But that is absolutely a vital building block of any counterterrorism effort.
So it's seeing something and saying something is huge, but it's only goes so far if an agency is not following up, then it's meaningless.
Then it's meaningless. And then all of your efforts to educate the public, to get the public to be a force multiplier for you, are going to fall flat, because if they don't see responsiveness on the part of law enforcement to the calls that they're issuing, you're going to lose a vital opportunity for building trust with your public.
And no tip is ever too small.
No.
My next and last question that I have is, what should all law enforcement agencies be doing at the bare minimum in terms of counterterrorism measures? Because obviously NYPD is a huge agency with a lot of resources, and obviously a city with millions of people that they have some different obstacles and circumstances. But the smaller agencies or the middle-sized agencies, what at very minimum do you recommend that they should be doing?
Well, we've just touched on one, following up on suspicious activity reporting, so that's incredibly important. I would say the second is informing themselves to the degree possible about the threat and its evolution, and whether that's coordinating with local JTTFs and FBI offices locally, whether that's coordinating with elements of NYPD. We have our SHIELD program, or Operation Sentry, which is built for this kind of outreach and initiative. In order to understand and defend yourself against the terrorism threat, you do have to understand it. And a small department can go a long way just by recognizing what to look out for. Often, what you'll see in the course of ordinary police work can tip you off to something more nefarious from a terrorism perspective. So even if you don't have the resources or the manpower to build specialized units and to do some of the programmatic things that NYPD has been able to do because of its size, you can still do a lot more than you may think by learning about the threat, by understanding it, by knowing what to look out for, and again, by being very responsive to the public when they're surfacing issues to you.
That is an excellent and a thorough answer, and I think any listener can learn from that. And lastly, if someone they want to gain some information and kind of look at what NYPD is doing, is there a resource they can use, or is there somewhere you can direct them towards?
Yes, so NYPD SHIELD has a tremendous amount of information that's available for SHIELD members, and some that's for the public as well, on terrorist incidents and trends and tactics. And so I urge people to take a look at that, as well as to explore NYPD's website more generally in our Counterterrorism and Intelligence Bureau programs.
And is that just they could find at nypd.gov?
Yeah.
Okay, again, we're very privileged to have, again, thank you, it's Rebecca Weiner of the NYPD, Assistant Commissioner of Intelligence Analysis, and thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.